Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm pretty sure we are live. If we are not, please let us know. And if you can't hear us, also let us know. We just got back from Mount Shasta. It was an incredible trip. We have Heidi Popp with us tonight. It's been a long time coming. She is the host of many podcasts, and she escaped Hollywood, and she has an
Yeah.
amazing story to tell, and what she's doing now with what she calls, I believe, New Earth education. Changing the education. It's a new classroom. It's a new curriculum that these children. I think it's necessary because we all understand. The system, the education system now is just indoctrination. Really, it's not education. So
Mhm.
um, before we get into that, just a few announcements. And
Hey, real
Aaron,
real quick, real quick, Tyler, is your mic plugged in? You sound a little bit
oh,
different.
oh,
It
do I?
almost
Let
sounds like
me
it's not
check.
plugged in.
It might not
Sorry to
be.
interrupt you there, but I just now noticed it.
Yep, you're right. Hang on.
That's what live is for.
Yay, we're live, so we can't edit. This is
Okay,
all.
is that
Show
is
our
that better?
humanity.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
That's on. There you go. Now it's plugged
There.
in. There you go.
Okay.
I was
All
like,
right.
wait a second. You
Let
sound
me
far away.
rewind.
I just realized it.
No, thank you. No, I appreciate that. So before we get started, I want to make a few announcements. Just a couple of conferences coming up. The next one is the Mind Nexus Conference in Tucson, Arizona, September 29th through the 27th, that Aaron and I will be speaking at individually. We'll each be doing our own presentations. Excuse me. We're really excited about that. That link is below in the description if you want to grab a ticket and come hang out with us. Carrie Cassidy will be there. John D'Souza, Ben Chastain from Edge of Wonder, Desiree Foley, Jesse Beltran, who we had on, who's talking about the targeted individuals and the direct energy weapons, the Havana syndrome, and there's a great lineup. We're really excited to be a part of that. And then after that, in October, I'll be speaking at the XCon, Margie K's on X Network conference in Springfield, Missouri, October 11th through the 13th. I don't know if that link's below, but I can add it. And that's going to be more of like a paranormal UFO conference. And I'll specifically be speaking on the history of the secret space program there, per her request. So I'm excited about that. And then October 19th in Sedona, Arizona, the Odyssey Conference. It's a 1 day event put on by Tony Rodriguez. He'll be there. Lily Nova will be there. And I'll be there just as maybe kind of doing like an experiencer lounge type of thing. Aaron will be in Peru, but
Yep. Otherwise, I would
we'll
be
be
there, but I already had a
right.
Peru
Yeah.
trip booked,
I
so
mean,
I'll
hey,
be in Peru.
Peru is
I'll
is
take Peru.
just equally
That's
as
pretty
awesome.
good.
Right.
So,
Pretty amazing. Right.
right.
First time too. I've never been, so I'm excited. I'm really,
Oh,
really excited.
cool.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's going to be amazing. I'm excited for you. But it's a 1 day hit in Sedona, October 19th. I will be there, probably maybe doing some live podcast or something of that nature, just kind of sponsoring it with Tony. And then in November, November 9th through the 11th in Pickstown, South Dakota, I will be speaking at the Star Knowledge Conference, which I'm really excited about that. It's more of a Native American themed conference. Chief Golden Light Eagle used to be involved, and there's a great lineup there as well. So I hope you had your pens out and you wrote all that down because I'm not going to repeat it again
Right.
because I want to get to our
It'll
guest today,
it'll
which
be on the test later at the end of the show.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Pop quiz at the end of all
Yeah.
this. We have a busy year coming up. So it's been a busy year, and we're really excited. On top of trips that aren't even mentioned here, so it's you know we're busy. So welcome to the show, Heidi. Heidi,
Thank
we've had her on in the past with Abby Lynn for Raising Star Seeds, and that was a couple of years ago. But we haven't had you on solo. You've been doing so much more since then. You host a few different shows, and you do your own homeschooling and these New Earth classrooms. But it all started from you leaving Hollywood, and maybe for the audience who doesn't know, you can kind of tell your story and what that journey's been like.
Sure. Hello. Thank you. Thank you again, guys, for having me. By the way, you deserve to be busy like that. You guys have put in the work and you're good peeps. And if anybody sees me guesting on shows or do my own shows, I'm always talking about you guys
Oh,
because you
thank you.
are
Oh,
the genuine ones out there. So this is a real treat. So thank
thank
you.
you.
And
Thank
yes,
you.
the Hollywood bit has been in me for a long time. I just, was enamored by it. I was a little girl, that watched the Oscars with my sister. And I know we look at it different now, but entertainment started really in my teens in high school for theater. And I had an agent in Chicago, and, I started that world. And I wound up, though, going to university initially for theater, but I switched into school of education. I had that whole like, well, I can do theater on the side and I'll get the back pocket degree that I really never have ever used, but I got it.
Yeah.
And so early childhood education was just always a thing. I gravitated towards kids. I had that energy, that frequency, and my side jobs were always nannying, babysitting, whatever. But my hustle was auditioning and commercials and industrials and indie films. And I love the ongoings of a set. Whenever major motion pictures came through Chicago, I was an extra. I just loved all the parts, hundreds of people it takes to make a scene. And you saw so many different skill sets. So it was fascinating. So I think it was the blizzard of 99 in Chicago, and I'm living on the lakefront. I'm like, that's it. And by fall, I drove to LA with two film buddies, and we just said, let's do this. So November 2000, I moved here. It's been 24 years. And I was a full-time actor for a while and hit that roadblock where, you're 30 and old. And so I was like, but I just could feel that block coming. I was also a dime a dozen. But I had the opportunity to go behind the camera and develop a skill set behind the camera. And so that's when I found craft services, which is like the snacks on set. And one of my first clients, or boss, I should say, is Rob Schneider. And I was doing his movies. And he taught me a lot about the healthy, high vibe snacks. So I really fell into this niche of healthy, because on set, you're used to hearing about Oreos and chips and junk food, and everyone, oh, there's so much food. But I'm like, I wanted sustainability. I was talking about, lemon water and detoxing, and oh, you feel yucky, here, let me make you a flu shot. It's like ginger and mint. And I was very maternal on set, doting on everybody while still working with everybody in Hollywood I ever thought I was going to work with. So I had an amazing run. And I had my children, and I wound up developing a team of craft service girls, called ourselves the Meow Meows. And I basically could have my children and be at home by being a boss, like maintaining this business. I would rent my equipment out. So I kept one foot in that world all the way until lockdown. So lockdown was when 2020, and my world shut. My whole world on set changed. Instead of hugs and smiles and homemade good food, everything was taken. It was no hugs, no smiles, packaged food. And I was like, that's not me. And it also was this really big out breath where I looked at my kids and I was like, oh yeah, hi, there you are. And we didn't get any more leftovers from work, but we had this this time together that I realized I was missing out on. And now I worked a lot on set, but I really was the full-time primary caregiver. I was a single mom for several years. So I would just get by. I'd work enough to make a full-time living, but I was only gone less than half the time. But when I was gone, I was gone. I'd leave 4 or 5 in the morning, come back at 10 at night. And now they just had me the whole time. And we had to realize we had to develop a new routine together. And I have to skip back just a little bit because 2015, my daughter, that's when we were starting her education journey, kind of. I mean, she was 5. And I thought, oh, maybe by 6 or 7, we'll look into it. And I was looking at my options, and my options, nothing resonated. In fact, I just never, because I went to college for it and I spent all these hours in these beautiful old Chicago buildings and schools and classrooms, I had this vision. So when I go to these schools, and I went to all the neighborhoods, I mean, there's metal detectors, there's these trailers in the back, and nothing. I was like, wait, where's magic? Like, this doesn't even feel good. And so I wound up falling into Waldorf education, which is Rudolf Steiner. And it really resonated. It was very spiritual, mind, body, will of the child. It really aligned with me. So when I found a really sweet place, it was tiny, it's in the valley. And when I was working all this time, I found my tribe. Like, I knew my kids were safe, they were going to be okay. This was a great system for them. However, I had to really push my son in way earlier than he wanted to be, because 2015, 2016, we lost our rights as parents to choose our children's education. We had this medical turnover happen. If any of my parents watching know, SB 277 came around, and I was on City Hall steps. I saw thousands and thousands and thousands of parents trying to champion choice for their kids, whether it's their education or medical rights, and choices to how we want to take care of our kids, the well being of our kids. And all that was changing. So the world kind of flipped for us there. And what I learned really quick there was, the more you fought something, the sicker you got. And I also realized the system is bigger than me. We got to change it. I kept saying we got to change it, but then I'd go back to set. So it was bothering me. And so I pushed my son in so he could be grandfathered into this school. And I'm like, whoo, okay, he's in. We're good till 8th grade. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but we're good, because if I left, I wouldn't be accepted in any other school, because we didn't have these medical records they required. So anyway, then hit 2020, and we're all at home, and it's like, oh boy, okay, that happened. Come to find out, a year later, when that school reopened, they adhered to things that didn't align with Rudolf Steiner anymore. It was very against what he stood for. So I was like, what? So I'm like, well, you can't go back there, and I'm not going back on set. So I'm like, I think we have to do something. So fall 2020, I had already started my vlogging. Like, I started podcasting and vlogging a little bit just to talk about my journey. And I wound up starting a little something in the backyard with just my kids. And that was my opening that I still do today. And it's very much about grounding and breath work and Qigong, which I got a lot from Matthew Mornian, talk about him all the time. And but by the time I got to the academics, I'm like, they just wanted mom. And I was like, I was trained in this in college, but I'm like, I don't know how to do it magically. So I hired two ex-Waldorf teachers who also left the system. They thought, we don't like what's happening here. And they wound up leading a pod in my backyard. And that was really beautiful. I could bring in a little bit of the meditations, and, started to practice the stuff I use today. And but it lasted, for a little while, but it was still me at home and my kids at home. And we're like, we want to go somewhere. And so we started getting buzz. I started meeting more tribe and finding more community. And I was the sovereign one during 2020. So I hosted a lot of events. And I started finding more families that thought like me. So the buzz came around about this learning center that stayed open during all this time. And they adhered to a lot of Rudolf Steiner curriculum with a twist. And I just loved the sovereignty. So I looked into it. And by 2021, my kids enrolled, and I stayed home, but I was missing out. I'm like, well, I still can't go back on set. Meanwhile, 2020, we were locked down in LA, but by June, Hollywood opened up. So because they were essential. So they were
Right.
asking me back on set. And I'm like, who's going to do my kids? Isn't that the $1 million question? Where do the kids go? And so I had to make that pivot. And so 2021, I got to dive into Raising Starseeds. I spent time on that. And then by fall 2022, I jumped in that learning center. I go, what can I do to help? I think this is a calling. And I was an assist for a year. And at the end of that year, I was offered my own class. So last year, I just finished my first year with my own students. And what we do at the learning center is we loop, which means those exact same students I had in 3rd grade, we all go to 4th grade together. So they'll be with me, the same children, till 8th grade. So I can watch their progress. We'll talk more about it, but that's the long story. Was that?
Yeah, and so I've seen some of the pictures and things that you posted online, and it looks like a lot of this is outdoors as well.
The 3rd grade is outside, but it is a building.
Okay.
So I go inside next year, but my whole class was outside. Yeah, the whole year. 3rd grade is very much aligned with the outdoor practical
that's
skills and such.
That's amazing.
right. I
Yeah.
mean, I can remember times in school where you just never get to go outside. Once recess ends, that's it. You're stuck inside all day. So,
Right.
Aw.
Yeah, recess
so
is
you,
fun. Yeah.
so this is important for anyone who out there who's a parent to understand, why we even want to talk about this, because we understand It's a big issue right now trying to send your child to school. They're not having a good time. All these woke agendas and these curriculums and what they're teaching them is essentially a lie anyway. And I think I've even heard you say on the podcast before that we're all antennas. And the reason that these kids are falling asleep in class is because subconsciously they know it's bullshit. So they're just shutting down. Like they don't want to receive this information. And there's the new vaccine requirements, and they're just making it really difficult to be an awakened parent and send your child through the schooling system. So it's important to understand that people like you are out there doing something and giving parents an option to even, just another option. And so what
Yeah,
do you have to like, as far as that goes, like what are you doing differently as far as the mainstream education
sure.
system?
Well, yeah, and it is important, and it's a need that needs to be met because as the old systems collapse, we've had to be building the new, and that's where I knew, like, I can't keep fighting this old system. It's got to blow up itself. I got to create new. So the difference is, and why I champion a place such as this is, we're more of a mentor. We're bringing out the innate skills of each individual child, and that means, I mean, I 18 kids in my class, 18 different skills. And so we're going through the fundamentals and practical skills of life to see where do they shine? Where does their light come on? Where do they excel at, and what are they interested in? And then we polish it. We boost it a little bit. And I think that's the art of what that we lost in the old system. All these children just became a number. They had to adhere to a certain standard so the school could get funding, all this kinds of stuff. Whereas we also, as parents, were programmed that they have to be a part of that system. Or something's wrong, or you're going to get in trouble. And I've made those steps, and no, you're not. So I really wanted to champion that and show people that you can create your own system. You can also be a part of the system but not of it. Like some, for the longest time I didn't subscribe to it, but I actually last year just enrolled my kids through a charter school. And so there is some state involvement, but that's because homeschoolers are entitled to a budget, an annual budget, and per child it's about 3,500, and you can use that budget for special skills. My daughter uses hers for horseback riding. You can get science equipment, you can go on trips, you can do classes or kung fu. You put out in services or get materials to homeschool your child. But you also get access to, like, this particular charter where I'm in LA, but it's in Orange County, and they're pretty sovereign down there too. But we have access to this online school system. Now we don't do anything online. My daughter's going in 8th grade. She's still not an online student. But knowing that it's there, and knowing, like, when we hit high school, what that looks like for us, we have the tools are there for us. And I'm noticing that's the flood of people. The flood of families are choosing to leave those public schools and going either through charter, or because sometimes it's overwhelming to hear homeschool in your backyard or you do it yourself. And yeah, I had a teaching background, but my kids didn't want a teacher, they wanted a mom. So you have to find your community of people, and develop enrichment programs. I really am passionate about the enrichment of a child. Academics, they can get that done in an hour and a half a day, maybe. I mean, that's pushing it if it's every day. A couple days a week we're at the learning center, and 2 hours a day is main lesson. And that's when I'm teaching a main lesson of the day. We imprint our main lesson and make our own books. We're doing math, we're doing a little bit of this, and the rest of the day is enrichment. It's strings class, it's movement, it's art, it's expression, and it's special skills. But the actual academia, children can't sit for hours and hours and on end and just soak in information. They're trained to memorize and regurgitate for testing, but they're not it's not learning, it's not processing. So our approach is hands-on immersive education, where they're active, they're moving, they're touching, they're using all their senses. And we're introducing material to them in a way that it's multidimensional. And so for that, you just see the lights brighten up. I share this often, and if any of my peeps are here that follow my channel, they'll be like, this one again. But I love this story because one of my boys is considered severely autistic. He wasn't welcomed anywhere else. His light was off. When I met him, every day I greet them with handshakes and eyes, and I have a little moment with them, and he couldn't make my eyes. and he can't write his name. He's the oldest in the class, but we welcomed him. We're like, we got him. We'll figure this out. And by the end of the year, he's in my eyes. We found his skill is music. We've given him a drum. He has an outlet. His light is flooding in again. And so we are literally counteracting the old system. We're showing them, oh, sorry, we tried something new and it's working. It's actually working. And the parents trust us. What I love the most too is this community. 90% of them don't know the term even starseed. We champion children, and just families are waking up because of the world around them, and we are putting this boundary, this protective space there for their kids, and we nurture them and love on them just as much as the family, so it's a safe space for them. But we're not saying these things aren't happening in the world. We're teaching them how strong they are with their own frequency and energy, that they can change the world. And so we're really empowering the kid. And that comes through academics, enrichment, and community. And that's the way of education, I think. And we're also have never been more social in our life. People are like, oh, you never homeschool at home or whatever. I'm like, we were never more social than once 2020 hit.
Yeah,
Right.
it's amazing.
There's a few things of, importance here that you mentioned. So for one, you said that your kids didn't want a teacher. They wanted a mom, right? They wanted you to be a mother. So I get that. And a lot of, like you said, it's overwhelming when, like, my sister and just people I can think of off the top of my head, whenever they hear homeschooling, they panic, because they have
Yeah.
a job. How do I do that? Like, they don't know what to do. And it's important also what you said, that parents feel like they're doing something wrong if they're not enrolling their child in school and the education system. But
Yeah.
you're living proof that there's nothing wrong with it and that there's other ways. So I think that's important also. And I love the fact that you're honing in on the child's skill sets and working with them individually, and that you're working with them over a period of years instead of just
Yeah.
one class, 1 year,
Yes.
one season.
Yeah.
So it's
So
really
special.
interesting. It's really interesting to me because you can, like, now you can essentially be a parent and a teacher, and you can work with these children. And I just love that's even an option. So if
Yeah.
you wanted to
I
add to
I
that.
love that their week is not Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. It's 3 days a week. They're adding me an extra day next year. I'll be 4 days a week, but our day really starts at 10 and we're done at 3. And, like I said, 2 hours of that is the main lesson. And even before we start the main lesson, we have an out breath. We're running, we're playing a game, we're doing a mind thing where they're, have to jump and clap and like do all these things to get their body connected to their mind, but also a little out of breath. And then they sit properly. Like, we have special desks, we have chalkboards, we do cursive, like we bring back, it's very natural, and it's human nature. It's intended
Mhm.
that way. There's no fluorescent lighting. And when we do go in this old building, there are some classrooms that have fluorescent lighting. We put sheets on them, we soften the lighting. We even go as far as that. We have essential oils going off. I'm saging. Like, we cleanse, we purge, we talk about sound healing, we do meditation. Like, it is the way to do things. And these children, the bright lights that they have, they are able to cognitively pick up on things. But what I love the most too is their contribution to society. By 8th grade, they're having full developmentally appropriate conversations with adults. Like, they're presenting their skills in art forms, like as an eloquent college grad. Like, they're developing as they should, because we've taken our time with them. And yeah, I can't say enough about it. And what you said though is huge, because, like, I'm teaching other kids and it comes to my kids and I'm like, I don't know. What your teacher want you to do? Like, it's just it's interesting, but I have it too. And I'm not that teacher mom at home. I'm very much a 21st century mom with holistic twist. But I want to play, I want to snuggle. I want to do those things. I don't want to show me your essay, I
Right.
try, but
Right.
it's really, I want them to have the maternal, the divine feminine mom at home, that just where they can spread their wings. They're like, I got this, you know. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Aaron, did you have anything you want to add to this, Aaron?
No, that's incredible. I mean, this is like, you're doing it right. This is how it should be with school, with
Right.
education, with And earlier, Tyler, you said something to the effect of people think they're doing something wrong when they're homeschooling their kids. But I would say it's the exact opposite. It's like the system is what's wrong. And then like you
Yes.
gotta figure out what you want your kids, how you want them to actually, when you understand what's really going on with it and how toxic it is until it changes, of course. It's like
Right.
we got to figure out better ways to educate and raise our children, and you're doing it
Right.
right. So thank you
Right.
so much for what you're doing. That's huge.
Oh,
Thank you.
it's all
And
good. It's,
Yeah.
really quick, I want to thank a few
Yeah.
people who are sending donations. Wayshower Dina, thank you so much for the $30 now, and thank
Thank
you
you.
Chastity so much for the $5. We appreciate you. We can't do it without you.
Thank you guys.
Um, so by the way, guys, if anyone does have a question for Heidi in the chat, feel free to ask and just put question in all caps in front of your question, and we'll ask her. Or for us, we can just have some fun with this as well. But so I want to get into a little bit more of the woo side of things as far
Uh-huh.
as, you've had your own paranormal and ET experiences, and I don't know if your children have or not, but does maybe you could share some of that, and does any of that come up when you're with the children? Do you cover subjects like that? Like,
Yes. Well, yes, like the community is vast. There's one mother that came to me and well, I stepped into position just so you know, these children were with their teacher first and second, and then she had to leave. So I took over the class. Usually you're there first through eighth. So as I'm taking over last year, one of the parents, I did a few home visits to just introduce myself to the kid and just see what their vibe is like at home and their frequency. One of the moms who met me was like, I've seen you online. She's like, I know you know. And she goes, I want you to know this is my daughter's first lifetime. She's here to change for the New Earth children. Like she just went into this whole bit, and I was just giddy as can be. And she goes, you can talk all the things with me, and you do what you want to do. And you come to me with anything with her. And sure enough, as we had moments through the year that I wanted to talk to her about, like observations I had of her child, I'm like, I'm noticing the social situation she's in. She's struggling with that first lifetime. And so we can talk about this exciting stuff. And then you have ones that, kind of still subscribe to the matrix in a way. Like they're one foot in the door, what the news is on at home. And so I have this range. So I have to be mindful of not scaring anybody or not setting off any alarms. But the beauty is children are automatically tuned into all this stuff already. It's just they come here to this planet with it. It's just unfortunate that when they're born, sometimes their light goes out based on our interference. So I fortunately, I've been able to work with kids who have been not interfered at all. And then I work with children who have been interfered. And so I realize when I get to the absolute basics of things, frequency and sound and vibrations, that is universal, and they get it. They get the concept. One of the moms brought this box of crystals for us. So we gridded our classroom, and I put them under their desk too. And I had them hold an intention. And these are all things that they can understand the concept. They got it. And because we had that outdoor classroom, we were so in touch with nature. One of the little boys would even, close his eyes and put his hand on things and stuff. So this stuff just comes out of them because they're in a safe space to be able to explore those kinds of feelings. We like that little boy, with the tones and everything. Some days when it's just too crazy energy, I'll say, take your shoes off, put your feet flat on the ground. We got to ground ourselves. We're a little whacked today, and we'll just start doing some breath work, and they are receptive. And what I noticed, and I'm not shy. Like you see me online talking about these things, and even sharing reels of my class, and the parents received it. I had all my parents come back for next year, and the ones that sign up that get the woo woo, and then those that don't, they just see their child coming home bright and happy, and they can't wait to go back. And they're just like, do whatever you're doing. They don't know what I'm doing, but just do what you're doing.
Keep doing what
And
you're
I'm
doing.
like, yeah, I'm like, you got it. So for that reason, some of the kids, there's two little girls in particular they are hell bent about they've seen fairies. And I'm like, I bet you have. I have too. And I'm like, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, and I'm like, and they're like, is this a fairy school? And I'm like, is it? I don't know. Could it? It could be. And so we put fairy houses all around for them. And, because that was me as a little girl having that experience. And my mom said, yeah, you probably did. And I remember just going, I wasn't squashed. So I don't squash any of them. And then the one little boy, when we'd walk into our space, he goes, did you feel that? We just stepped in a portal. And I'm like, I go, I did. I feel like we made a sacred, safe space here. This is our space, and the environment is thanking us for being here. And we'd have these beautiful moments with praying mantis and animals, and all the sweet stuff and I tell them, I'd say, "Did you see that? What were we just talking about?" And then we'd say, "Oh, we were talking about so and so's birthday." And I go, "Aren't we all in a really good mood? That's a high frequency. And look, the animals came, and they're just like." It's cute. I don't go much into crafts, or I don't think I've gone too far down the Bigfoot thing or anything, but I've heard them on the playground. Like, is that a ship? No, let's go ask Miss Heidi. No, it's not. Let's go play soccer. They talk like that.
That's amazing.
So it's kind of cute. And so, like I said, with the lessons, some of the curriculum, I'm handed not like do this, and get ready for tests. We do have Miss Pop. They call me Miss Heidi because my name is too giggly. But I do say they know my last name. So I'm like, oh, it's a pop quiz. And they're like, ah. And I just make it really fun. And I just want to see what they can recall. It's a recall quiz, really. It's not grading or anything like that. But when I do lessons, my lessons are like of humanity. They're about, I do talk about the clairs because we had a play that was involved about clairvoyance and stuff. So we went through all the clairs, and some of the children were like, well, I think I have something like that. And those are our conversations. But when I give material, it's emotional, and it has to do with being your best self and being a good human, and what can you bring to better yourself. And I focus a lot on their skills. What do they want to do as a business person? Not like pick your career and then go to college. It's like, what makes you tick? And then I try to, I'm kind of going in circles, but I think you know what I mean. I forgot
Right.
what you
No,
asked.
Right. Right.
it's
No, that's
yeah, it's all beautiful.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that that's how I am with my niece and nephew as far as like the fairies and the big whatever the portals. I play a game with them at the park where we run through this like archway, and I pretend that they're going through a portal and I can't see them anymore. They love it though, and then it gets their imagination going, and then it gets my imagination going, and the next thing I know, I really feel like we're in a portal. Like it's just crazy. But
Yes.
and I love that you're doing that, and the putting the fairy homes out. That's so important
Yeah.
because it's
You know,
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, not to interrupt you, but I want to preface that they know some of the Hollywood bits too. They know that world I was in. So once in a while, if I overhear a conversation and it's getting really low vibe, or, it's getting a little darker, I'll remind them that I worked in Hollywood, and some things you see, are not necessarily like they'll bring up a scary show their parents watched or something, or then they assume all of it's bad, or ETs or things. And I'm like, I worked in Hollywood. I remember how that was special effects and things. I can't believe everything you see online. You have to have your intuition to pick up on what feels right and what doesn't. So, yeah, I just wanted
Yeah,
to share that.
right. If I was important, or if I was a parent, I would tell my children that would be the number one thing is just you can't stress enough that you cannot believe everything you see online, especially now with all the AI and the deep fake technology and just literal videos that are they're not based in reality whatsoever. But a kid wouldn't know the difference. I think that would be one of the most important things to stress. Like if when you open up that
Yeah.
pad and you scroll across something that might not be real at all. Like you have to help them understand how that world works and then help them
Yes.
navigate the internet because that's something that I don't know. I'm not like I can't speak for everyone, but I've seen parents just let the iPad, raise their children and then who knows what they end up discovering and scrolling past. So
Well,
if you can help them learn,
TikTok and YouTube these days, it's like
right.
they could, I mean, from when we were kids, it's like a whole different level of, kids have phones when they're like 6 years old now, and then they're watching they're watching TikTok and YouTube when they're probably that old, you know, and then their whole childhood is that. And it's like the programming, you know, because you know the system is pushing the things it wants them to be programmed with through that, on top of the education system itself, on top of shows and movies and stuff. So it's like they're
Yeah.
getting it from so many angles 24/7.
Right.
It's like so much more intense, I feel like, now that it's so
It's very
that much more
intense.
important for
Yeah.
parents, if they're awake, you know, to make sure you're the one raising your kid and you're doing what you can to
Right.
mitigate that, and to
Yeah.
you know, not
Mm.
saying like there's a, you know, don't, because there's the other extreme of like you never let them do anything, and I don't think that's the right way to go either. I think you have to find that balance of like limiting maybe screen time, and then also teaching them the truth of things, and but letting them think for themselves as well, teaching them how to discern and how to, you know, all of it, everything you're doing with your school is, and
Yeah.
that's so important, and teaching them that all those things are real is huge. Because I mean, me growing up, I mean, I grew up in a religious family, but no one ever taught me that those things were real. It was always, oh, that's all fantasy, that's all, you know, none of that's real. No
Mhm.
one ever told me that ETs were real, Sasquatch was real, fairies were real, you know, even ghosts, or like life on other planets, UFOs. It was all just in the realm of fantasy, right? Because that's like the programming, because they don't want you taking those things
Well,
seriously and realizing there's a
we're
greater reality going on.
right. Did you want to add to that, Heidi?
Well, I was
Or
just going to say, even being online, even the being online in general, the imagery is sped up. Like
Hmm.
their attention span is getting short. So a place like our homeschool learning enrichment center, you know, screens aren't allowed, and because it's homeschoolers, then we come from all walks of life. We can't demand it. If it was a real brick and mortar school, you know, like our old Waldorf school, there was no phones on campus, even if you're a parent walking on, and they encourage no screens at home, and it just wasn't useful for us. Like, we balance, but we have a time and a place. So I teach that it be used as a weapon. And even in our
Hmm.
little classroom, like, it would come up in conversation about finding something, or talking. The kids just encouraged conversation, and they were talking about something, and I said, hey, what is it what you're talking about? And he described it, and I go, and what were you talking about? And I go, do you know both of you can go on the internet right now and find a million pages that support what you think. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
fighting about something that you're not. What's the point? Because you both are going to have evidence that's going to prove your point. So can't you just let them have their opinion and you have your opinion? It's more of the piece of it all, because it's been weaponized. And
Hmm.
I encourage, like, when we had our big shelter project, which was this, they had to make a 3D model and like do all this stuff. I encouraged the library. Like, I'm like old school. I go, of course, look it up if you need to, but encourage them to try new things, to go look up a book and then find the book and bring it home, like the steps it takes, because developmentally, the screens, this rapid fire of imagery is
Hmm.
hurting them developmentally.
Yeah.
So, and you can
yeah,
see it. I can pick out every kid in the class who watched screens the night before. And there's
I-
unfortunately one that you can tell he watched it on the way to school. And so I can just see, you can see it. And it made me very cognizant as a parent to really limit it. So when we go back to sessions in middle of September, it's like weekends and you earn the time, because I can see what it's doing. And
we-
but I also know there's a time and a place. Sorry, go ahead.
right. No, the attention span, that's huge because it affects
Yeah.
adults too. I mean, you see, there's adults that I hang out with that just can't keep their focus. You know, they're still on their phone even when they're around all the people. You know, we're all guilty of it. We all pull our phones up, but still, it's like when they're not interested in the conversation, they just drift off, and like it's that attention span. It's just they're treating real
Yeah.
life as if they're scrolling through social media,
That's so
and it's
true.
completely
Yeah.
entirely disrespectful. And most people are unaware that they're doing it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just and then they're all the stuff that they're putting in front of these kids, that these like Instagram models, like that they're creating these socially constructed insecurities, and all
Yep.
these girls and are this transgender movement, they see all this
Yep.
stuff and they're confused. It's designed to confuse them, and then they're depressed because they don't know what to think or believe even about themselves anymore. So like I'm just going back to stress my point of you can't. I don't think you could spend enough time stressing the importance of navigating the internet and
Yes,
how it's
and
weaponized.
that comes back to the parents too, because I see some of my parent friends, a lot of my parents are online with me. They might hello, some of them might be seeing this now.
Mm.
Um, some are fully aligned where I'm at, others are really navigating the best they can, but I have to gently remind them saying they're watching you. So it's the parents saying, don't. Meanwhile, they're here. Or,
Right.
they're upset at their kid, this anxious anxiety. And I'm having a conversation with the parent. I'm like, how are you doing? Like, how's the
Right.
divorce? Like, check on yourself first because they're modeling you and they're picking up on your energy. They're watching your screen time.
Mhm.
And my kids checked me on that. So when I do stuff like this, but they're at water polo, so that's different. Um, but they usually get to have their time. So yeah, I really try to check the parents because, like I said, with this range of them, some will automatically know and they don't have any screens at home. Some it's their sitter, so I'm empowering the child to know themselves to put it down, that they can be
Right.
excited enough to use their imagination and be comfortable with it because you can tell they're raised to boredom is a screen, or
Mm.
they don't have time to sit with their boredom to get creative about something. So at least in that time I'm with them, the ones that have the screen all around them at home and the chemicals and all these kinds of things, I'm teaching them for that amount of time that they are good enough, that they have amazing skills and they can do so many creative cool things. So I am trying to inspire so that they can do it themselves, because if they don't have a guardian mentoring for them, they're going to have to really go hard at it themselves.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. So now I want to bring college into the equation here. Now, obviously, we understand college is even worse than, in some cases, even
Oh
worse
man.
than the, grade school now and high school. So, are these the kids who are being homeschooled when they get, let's just say, the equivalency of a high school diploma? Could they still be accepted into a college? Because I know college has a lot of requirements.
They do, and do you know what's trending right now? Speaking of online TikTok and everything, um, they're even the colleges are seeking homeschoolers now because of their ability of critical thinking, like their mindset. They recruit them now, but I mean, I guess it's what your families choose to do, but yes, homeschoolers are able to do that. You can get your equivalent degree if you're unschooled and not in the system, which was the way we were going until just last year. We
Mhm.
would have just applied, and there are small businesses out there that can help you to give you that piece of paper to say this is the education journey your child went on. The thing that I enrolled us in was to make that journey easy for me, but also to be able to use those funds that I'm entitled to. And through that charter, they're going to show, this is right now, it's showing their grade, it's going to show their progression. What I've learned through this charter and homeschool program is, and I don't know where else it is, but I know here in California, during the high school years, like my daughter, she can go to the community college and she can take some courses. They pay for it. So by the time she's done with high school, she could have her associates already and then, find something she really wants to do. What I'm noticing with our homeschooler in our communities, though, these kids go right into their businesses, or they'll go to, like, there is a really amazing sound recording studio here in LA. And, you can just jump right in there after high school because, working on set, that changed my whole perspective. Now, college, I kind of did that for my folks. I was very spoiled. It was covered, it was like, okay, this is what you do. That was my programming. Everything changed for me working on set because I'm working next to an ex-felon and then a master's degree, but we each have a skill and could make six digits. So I tell my kids on set, you have an engineer, you have the grip, you have the foodie, you have the director, you have the producer, you have the actor, you have all these different types of people, and they don't look at your degrees. So I know that's going to maybe poo-poo some people, but I don't push it. If they want to go, like my daughter's saying, I'm going to do that high school program and get some degrees under my belt. And then if I want to go somewhere, I'm like, cool. And then my son's like, I'm going to be with you forever. And, I'm not going to do anything. I'm like, cool. We're like, but you're really good at this, this, and this. And he's just on the hunt of how to make a good business. I'm like, cool.
Right.
But yes, colleges, yes, homeschoolers are actually coveted currently for college because of what they
So
bring
th-
to the table. Mhm.
There you
right.
go.
But it also concerns me, and I'm going to say why. And somebody else has the same concern. They said colleges are fucked. Normal kids go in and come out a radically unhinged liberal. And
Yeah.
it
Seen
almost
it so
makes
many
me
times.
wonder why they're recruiting homeschool kids.
Right.
Maybe there's some agenda to it. Because I found out when we did our Q and on webinar that there's actually, I believe Harvard, there's a course, there's two courses revolving around called the QAnon hoax, and it's all about like basically debunking the whole thing. Well, just which tells you, which is proof positive that it's something real in the first place.
Right,
But
right. They have a whole
Oh,
course.
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but that's just one example. I just know that there's major brainwashing that goes into
Yes.
the college students nowadays. So I hope that's not why they're recruiting the
You
homeschoolers.
think what I champion though too, I know I use that word a lot, but I'm really like spearheading. Um, my goal is with these children having this kind of foundation, like this homeschool enrichment center, you're raising a human to really stand in their sovereignty and truth. So they can't be swayed. So a lot of them are
Right.
picking up on the
Right.
bullshit. And
Right.
and they also are the first to speak up. So like my daughter's 8th grade. I mean, there's community council all the time. I made a sacred council for my kids too, but we encourage their voices. And so when something doesn't feel right, doesn't sit right, they speak up. I think a lot of these kids, that go into these programs and they can turn like that, especially in the masters, my brother, I've seen people go through this recent years and come out the other end, like you said, but I've also seen their education journey prior. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder they were swayed. I've seen what they're eating. I've
Mhm.
seen what they subscribe to and where their mindset was at going in. So I totally understand why they're swayed. I'd like to see a whole bunch of homeschoolers go into those things and just flip it upside down and may help it collapse because they'll be like, we can't change them. And then they just come
Right.
out exposing them all. So,
Yeah.
but a majority of the homeschoolers and communities I've run into, the families now are watching their child develop so clearly and so confidently and empowered that the parents are even like, do whatever you want to do. Like, here's the money I had for you for college, put it in a small business. That's happening more than not. And it's encouraged. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
families can do whatever, but yeah, I'm just like, we're,
Y-
not like we'll see what happens then, but I'm fully trusting these humans getting raised right now.
Right. And that's a great point too. They're them being able to think for themselves after, a lot, 12 years of homeschooling. So it's really that's, you have a genuine uh human being instead of a zombie that's just left
Right.
high school going straight
Mhm.
into the system.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I mean, that's we see them walking around, and you could
Well,
arguably say that some of these people are zombies.
and a
Yeah.
lot of it is like peer pressure, right? So they take advantage of the fact that kids in especially high school and then even in college where you want to fit in, you want to have friends, you want to be part of a group. Um, and so they make the things that are cool or the things that are um like a lot of kids have a activist kind of spirit or a spirit of like I want to change the world, so they hijack that and they tell you, okay, here's how you do that, here's the virtuous things to believe, and it's all inverted, right? So that's when they program you with all these false virtuous in quotes that are actually the opposite of that, right? They're the transgender pushed stuff, the hating Trump and the like, literally hating like white people, for example, like literally like they're teaching it as anti-racism and oh, you got to fight racist. So, but then they teach you to be racist against either your own race or all of what I've seen that. I've seen hate all conservative people because they're all evil. Like all these things that they think like you think you're being a good person and they're taking advantage of kids' desires to like be a good person and to enact change and then
Right.
also to fit in. So like the more kids they can program, then the more they can get that to be the acceptable uh
Norm.
mindset
Right.
and what you strongly believe, then oh, you're going to be an outcast if you're not in if you don't have those exact same opinions and beliefs. So you got don't you want to fit in? Don't you want to be cool? Don't you want to be whatever? Oh yeah. So then, kids under the age of 25, you're a lot more susceptible to that until you've
You
developed
are.
individually and
Mhm.
developed in your sovereignty. You're just going to fall right into that until you finally maybe later on in your life break out of it. I mean, I did it in a different way with the religious stuff, but it's kind of the same concept though, right? I was just
Right.
being
Yes.
programmed
Mhm.
heavily until I was able to start thinking for myself when I was 25 finally, and I broke out of it.
Right.
But
I
before that, I was
right.
completely indoctrinated. It's the same thing.
Mhm.
And I believe a lot of children, a lot of us come here knowing that we sign up for some of those experiences and some of the programming and stuff, so we can know what it's
Mhm.
like and learn about it, and then obviously have that awakening. But
Yeah.
um, did you have anything to add to what he was saying, Heidi?
Well, that's why I think it's so imperative to start with the early childhood programs. Like, that's where I realized, oh, that's why my higher self was telling me in 1992 to go into early childhood at DePaul. Like, to focus that when they came back later is early childhood. Give them the foundation they need so that they can beat these things. Because we are
Mhm.
fighting against a system that has enslaved us for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's not
Mhm.
going to take it could take 100,000 podcasts and we still don't change that world. We have to change within that world and then kill it. Or
Right.
wrong
Right.
Right.
word. But so
Yeah.
starting with that foundation, you try to get them wherever you can, but that's the beauty of watching what I've been able to witness, starting with this young generation and seeing like, okay, we're going to be okay. We can teach them these skills of being human as well as this multiverse of energy and alchemy and transmuting, and they're going to be do the shift for us. We just have to guard them and mentor them along the way because they are target. They're the number one commodity in international slave trade system, but they're also a huge target on their back. So I think also the numbers are meant to scare us online because I'm in LA and my visual is there's more homeschoolers than not at this point, feels like. And so it's shifting. And so as long as we trust and hold that in our heart and really just focus on the kids, then that's how we can shift down the road. We have to be patient and
Right. Yeah.
and
Yeah. It's,
really
it's not gonna.
trust them. We have to trust the kids to do the right thing too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Ex- Exactly. It's not going to be an overnight change. I always said like we can't have everything that we want overnight anyway because we don't have the infrastructure for it. We don't have the knowledge
Right.
to understand how to even move forward and navigate a world that would look like that. We don't know what it's like to not be programmed and constantly distracted and have a quiet planet with no frequencies, bombarding us all the time. So there's going to be a transition phase, but that's why I called this, new Earth timeline because we just interviewed Ben Gordon last week, and we were talking about a timeline shift surrounding the Trump assassination attempt, and a lot of people felt a shift. One guy called it a course correction of the timeline. Somebody else called it a timeline convergence. But Ben made a really beautiful point. He said he couldn't explain it, but he could feel the shift. And he said, I just feel like there's a window right now. He goes, I feel like they're going to try and do something to take away that momentum. But he said, I feel like there's a window right now. If there was ever a time to pour your love into the positive timeline and
Yes.
the new Earth
Yes.
future, now's the time. So,
Yeah.
and then having these conversations like this and letting people understand that there is a new wave, these new children coming
It's
through,
here.
and
Yeah, it's
yeah,
happening.
Mhm.
it's
Yes.
here, but it is going to take some time. But if was ever a time to focus and put your intention into something, I would say it's now to like solidify that timeline.
Yes, and believe in it. And I mean, even if you don't have kids, you're still a guardian. If if you're a grown and out, like what I like to say too is because I'm a mom with these kids, I grew up in in that system. And so being able to just have that conversation with an 11-year-old and almost 14-year-old about frequencies and hey, the Bluetooth, let's give it a break. It's zapping us, get your fairway blanket and let's sit out on the grass and ground ourselves. Like that's changing a whole mindset of kids, and they're going to be the next parents and the grandparents. So it's nothing, I think, overnight. Like you said, it's down the road and we're watching it. We're in the middle of it. That war on
Right.
consciousness, the war on information, all of it. But there is a transition team in effect in the play. We're in the game right now, and we're boots on the ground sharing that, guys, it's working. And
Yeah.
I'm watching it unfold and I can feel it. I tell you, the skies have been clear for 2 months. I don't want to jinx anything, but even the skies are clearing up. So I'm like, things
Yes.
are looking okay. And that optimism, got me a lot of heat for a long time. And then I just powered through and I go, I'm sorry, but I'm seeing the changes that I'm being. So, I don't,
Yeah.
all about
Hey,
perspective, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so,
absolutely.
yeah. Mhm.
Everyone's going to view the world through their own lens, and understandably, understandably, the doom and gloom, fear frequency can take over and corrupt someone.
Yep.
And I mean, it's pretty scary if you don't understand the bigger picture and you're just getting all your information from the media or wherever you're getting your information from. And understandably, even people that are awake, sometimes they lose hope. It really
Yes.
takes a strong warrior spirit to like stay grounded throughout this whole movement, throughout this whole war, and stay
Absolutely.
strong on the battlefield until we come out the other side. And I think we're on, we're coming out the other side right now. Now, I
Mhm.
do believe they'll try something else, certainly, right? But
Yep.
it's like the way one of my friends puts it beautifully. It's like we've had all these timelines going like imagine it like a horse race, and there's finally a lead horse now. Like there's a
Mhm.
finally a lead horse, a positive timeline, and we know
Yep.
that horse is going to win, and the other horses can't catch up. So I think
Yeah.
that's what we're on, but it's going to be, it's going to be
Yeah.
difficult.
It's
Mhm.
gonna be difficult, and I think that's when people have to just remember what they can do. It's overwhelming, but what you can do is keep your meat suit really in check. I mean, sobriety was the best thing I ever did, but that's whatever to anybody float their own boat. But it getting and teaching my kids to get so in tune that your internal compass will tell you if you're on the right timeline or not and how to shift it. And then you alchemize it yourself. You can be a spearhead this positive timeline too and help it move along a little bit. So it's exciting times. And yeah, and shout out to my pal Tanya for that. She reminds me of that all the time when I start going and I'm like, oh yeah, I had too much sugar or something. I got to sleep, or I just recalibrate. And I tell my kids, did you see? I almost went down there. I'm back. And I intuitively can get the hit because, once in a while, there's a lot of eyes on Callie about the shaking and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going to put it out there. I'm not in denial. I got my bags. I got things ready. But more than anything, I want this radar in me to know so that my higher self can go, hey, you know what? I think it's time to take a trip to Arizona. Or, I'll know when it's time to make moves. And there's the war. We keep clouded so you're not in touch with your intuition or your higher self and you get stuck on the battlefield. So, moving
Yeah,
as spearheading the battlefield is being really in tune with your body and choosing the
yeah,
right people around you and what you read, what you watch. You have to be like soldier up in that sense.
right. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody put it once. We don't have the luxury to misuse our energy right now, because it
Right.
will be
Perfect.
taken advantage of. It will be taken advantage of. So, rewinding back to the curriculum and stuff that you're teaching, do politics ever come up? Because I remember learning about politics in school, and all the branches and all this stuff. Is that required still?
I think with my daughter, I'm trying to remember her curriculum. She went back to like Roman days and Egyptian, they start really from the creation stories and they go on up. So they do talk about when government comes in. I know the way my daughter learned about taxes even was They were doing their small business in 5th grade, and the queen comes in and she started taking everybody's money, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like, "This is my tax." And that's how she started introducing this form of, with that stuff. But as far as just chatter among the kids in the playground, stuff comes up. I can tell who watches the news at home, like whose parents are watching. And with curriculum, I'm going to share that. But what I want to share really quick is with these little 3rd graders, these 9-year-olds, one Jewish boy came in and he was so heavy hearted. This was a kind of the beginning of last year. And he said, they're killing millions of my people, the war and the religious war, I should say. And it was like, I was like, oh, that must feel, your heart must feel very heavy. And then the other kids like, yeah, but they went pals, like it was this religious thing. I'm like, I go, okay, this is big. This is planet, this is big. What can we do? What can we do? And then we wound up holding ourselves in a meditation. And I said, put your hand here and put your hand here. Let's hold these countries and these cultures and these people in our hearts, and let's pray for them, not in the religion, but just hold them in a good frequency. Hold them in your heart. And I did that, and I said, we're going to do that for 60 seconds. And we wound up sitting there, and I'm peeking, and I could see these lips moving, and they're like, like this, and all these faces. And then we were done. They were bright, and they're like, oh. I'm like, we did something there. We shifted something. They're like, I think they felt that. I think they felt that. And then those 2 boys hugged, and like those kinds of things is part of the humanity I'm talking about, of what we're teaching to get these kids to be able to ride through this craziness. As far as judicial system and with the older kids, sure, they'll learn the branches of stuff, but they have mentors that are championing them in their voice of giving the power back to the people, saying, if things are not going the way you want them to go, create it, create the homestead, overturn government. I mean, they're covering all the stories in history and encouraging what do you think about it now? And then the kids share their opinion, and the teacher encourages, well, what would you do different? And so that's kind of where the curriculum lies. It's, here's what's been happening in the history that I was passed down. Do we know if it's true or not? What do you think about it? But this is what I was told. What do you think? And this is what's currently happening in our government. And like when we go back to sessions, I'm sure it'll be talked about. This 46 stepped down, and this one came in, and we have this election coming up. What are your thoughts about that? And they'll say, this is what the system is. Is it working? What should we change? How should we change it? That's more the style of curriculum. But I look through my daughter's gorgeous books. They make their lesson books every year. And even when she went through Egypt and Rome, and gosh, when was it? The medieval times, even, they were already talking about rulers and class systems. And the conversation is, yeah, this is what happened. And the teacher will be sitting there, wash my feet, you're the peasant today, and things like that, and get them to have the experience to be like, wait, why aren't we all equal? And she's like, I know, why aren't we? What should we do about that? And it just encourages them. So they have the lessons, but what they have more than that is, why did that happen, if it happened? And what would we do different? And that's what I think is why, as well, when you were talking about earlier too, Aaron, is why I'm not worried about the future. I'm watching kids of all ages become these empowered beings, that their presence alone makes adults shit quiver, because they're speaking their voice, they're asking their demands, they're wanting the truth. Their journey to truth is their awakening. That is their appropriate, developmentally appropriate curriculum of their journey into what is truth. What's my truth? That's the curriculum. So long story short, yeah, they learn all those things, but they're learned in this way. Like, what do you think about that?
That's
So that
abs-
happened, guys. Yeah.
that is absolutely incredible. I love that. I love that you show them the history lesson, but like, yeah, but did it happen? This is what I was told. What do you think? That's amazing. I mean, that's all you
Yeah.
can do, because it's also not right to tell them what you believe, to force your beliefs.
Right.
You could learn about Tartarian history or something and then go like lecture on that, but you're not letting them decide and understand and feel into it. So just
Right.
keeping that
Yeah.
open-minded, that's the key.
You're
that
teaching
above
them
Open-minded.
anything
to think
else.
for
Yeah.
themselves. You're teaching them to think for themselves and use discernment.
Yes.
And yeah, I
Be-
mean,
That's
that
what
you're teaching them
awakening.
sovereignty. You're
Mhm.
teaching them which
Yes.
is one of the
Yeah.
most important things. And
Yeah.
you know, that's
Teaching
how
them
it
how
should
to
be.
think.
Like that's how school should be. That should be the main, but instead it's
Agreed.
no, this is the correct information shoved down your throat. Now regurgitate it on a test. And if you
Right.
don't, you get a
And
bad
that
grade. That's training kids
Right.
not to think, to just obey authority and believe the
Right.
right thing, and that's it. So
Right.
thank you for
And
doing
that, well,
that.
yeah, well, the curriculum, like the books, like where they're like, at this age, cover these milestone kind of things. The thread that's used, and then we all infuse like I put my thing into it, other teachers put their thing into it, but the thread is usually around Rudolf Steiner based. And I know you guys are kind of schooled in that too. He's been under speculation, or what it's called, stipulation. He's been had a target on him too.
Oh yeah.
But the thread of his curriculum is humanity, and it's the power within. That's his thread. And it's the mind, body, will. It's being in line and being your own antenna. That's his curriculum thread. So when we started the creation stories, and sure, I do Native American, there's biblical. Like I've never studied religion, but I say, isn't that interesting that all these religions and cultures had like an ET, or like they have the theme of being a good person. And so it's very tangible. Like Steiner, I think, puts it very tangibly. I do have to poo-poo, though. I'm very disappointed in WISC. I think I talked about this on your last show. Waldorf Institute of Southern California and Waldorf in general is hijacked, just like all the good things, hijacked and
course.
inverted. So I can't say I do Waldorf anymore. What I do is a New Earth homeschool learning enrichment center with a Steiner curriculum, but New Earth multidimensional frequencies attached. Like that's the title.
That's incredible.
That's
Yeah.
That's
it's
amazing.
beautiful. So how much have you learned from these little New Earth children, these star seeds? Because I
Oh
know
my
they're
gosh.
probably coming in telling you stuff that's blowing your mind. I'm sure.
Absolutely. That's so cute. That just brought tears to my eyes because they're bringing me back to one. Now I always thought that was my kids, but my kids are my biggest teachers. They check me. These kids check me too, but they're bringing all my selves back to one, because I have the maternal, the educator, all these things coming to one, and they're teaching me patience and grace. And I just finished, I have to send them off. I have letters. I wrote them. I hand wrote them. I'm writing each of them with like tears in my eyes, like handwritten cursive letters of like, I hope you're having a beautiful summer. I can't wait to see you, and I tell them about my day. Like they're just bringing this another frequency and form of humanity out of me that I couldn't have dreamed of. So taking that like 100 gazillion trillion dollar pay cut from motion picture to this was worth every penny, because they're assisting in my awakening on the daily. So yeah, I'm surrounded. They're little trinkets they give me. I'm always surrounded by crystals, and I see in their face that our energy exchange is working. And when I'm off, they're off, but we calibrate it. Like they're teaching me powers that I forgot I had. Like I'm remembering my mission. Hi, Matthew. All the time with them, because they're a direct reflection of what I'm trying to get across. And so, I mean, it's all a learning game. I really feel more like a mentor and a guardian. I know Sherry Divban and I talked about that a few times, more than a teacher, but because they're teaching me and their parents are their teachers. Like we're all teaching each other, but what are we really? We're mentoring, because we're all sovereign civilians of free will. So yeah, they're bringing out the best and worst in me.
Right.
But I tell them, like last year was hard. Outside was hard, rain, sun. We closed for 2 days here. We were a state of emergency with the flooding and the rains. So we didn't go in, but when we went back, it was a mud show. I have a teepee that we would find rescue in. And when we go in, and I just be like, I could see them watching me, like, how am I reacting? So I can't necessarily fake it, but I would tell them, I go, wow, guys, I'm exhausted. Like that was a lot. And one would put their little hand on my knee, and they were like, let's play some music, Miss Heidi. I'm like, yeah. And then we just start drumming and clapping and doing things, and the frequency shifts. I'm like, oh, by golly, I think they got it. So yeah,
Yeah.
they do all that to me.
Wow.
That's
Well,
amazing.
I mean, this has been such an enlightening conversation, and I hope that everyone listening takes away a lot from this because what you're doing is truly, I believe, solidifying the New Earth timeline. And I mean that. I mean, it's just next level
Mhm.
stuff that it gives me hope because we always talk about the negative side of stuff and we understand the way we're being programmed and all that and manipulated. But hearing the other side of the coin and that this stuff is occurring and taking place in places like LA and things that, we just paint this picture of LA now and, as this negative thing because, obviously the media and
Hollywood.
there's reasons for it, obviously, which too, but there's still it gives me hope, and it's just I know every one of those kids is going to grow up and make an impact just like you are. So I mean, they are the future, and I think it's so important what you're doing. So thanks again. And
Thank you.
Yes.
is there anything else that you would like to cover or share before we start wrapping this up?
I mean, oh, well, you mentioned Hollywood. I did leave it, and my hubby's still in it. The giant is in it. Um, but I wanted to share, like I said at the beginning, just to circle back to that like one product, one show takes 100+ people, and those are usually just regular folks like us. I've met so many awakening within Hollywood, and they just want to make a living doing their art. So as Hollywood is shifting, and it is, all the unions sent letters to people saying 30% of the workforce is going away. We're all still recovering from a strike and everything, but there's a lot of good humans here. We also live on sacred ground. The Tongva tribes, I mean, everywhere is sacred, but we have sacred areas here that do need protection. So I don't, I mean, if anyone could do what they want to do, but fleeing is not an option for me because I feel like it needs all the light it can handle to
Yeah.
protect it. It's like
Yeah.
gangrene. If we all fled, it would just kind of get everybody else. I saw it coming in 2015. I was telling middle America, I go, you guys watch, you guys are next with the medical choices for your kids. Sorry. And I go, something else is coming. So just to be reminder that there's more good-hearted humans out there than depicted online, and all of our groups are kind of small. So if we just get to the root of things, which is being a good person, shifting the frequency, we can unite a lot faster and move forward a lot quicker. And that also means putting positive energy, like let Hollywood expose itself, let the Dan Schneiders of the world and the dark people that I've even worked with, it's all going to expose itself. And then the good stuff can land there because what a wonderful system that's already there to make cool things.
Right.
Great, amazing things. So I just saying that. I'm like I said, being mindful of the energy you project on something because we're feeling it. and,
Yeah.
and we could use a little more positivity.
Well, I
Yeah.
agree with you about letting them expose themselves because ultimately that's what's happening anyway. Like you
Yep.
said, we can have these conversations all day long, but those people are shooting themselves in the foot and they're telling on themselves. And a
Mhm.
narcissist always tells on themselves. And if you know what to look for, I mean, that's exactly what's happening. And the machine consumes itself. And we can just make people aware that the machine exists. Because some people don't realize that they're just, complacent in a lot of this stuff, or not complacent and complicit. But
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just super important, stay out of the way while the
Well,
dinosaurs
well,
fall.
we're the ones
Yeah.
that have been running the machine. We've been manipulated into powering the machine, right? So all it really
Sure.
takes is waking up because then we'll no longer we've been unconsciously feeding the machine because we don't
Yes.
realize there is a negative machine that's feeding off
Yeah,
of you. And
that's
well, the second you
exactly what I
realize
was
it,
saying.
you naturally stop feeding it because you're like, wait, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna
Yep.
live what and
Well,
my
and
truth, do what I want to do and not feed this horrible evil
yep.
beast of the machine.
And what Jesse Beltran kept saying on our show, he was like, knowledge is the first line of defense. And
Absolutely.
it's so true. Just understanding all this stuff. That's it. Now you can protect
Yep.
yourself and you can learn the difference. And so,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
your
what a
energy, what you feed. So if you
Yeah.
do have a big thing with La La Land, stop streaming. Like
Hmm.
so pay into it then because you're keeping
right.
it alive. So
Right.
it's you pick and choose your battles is what I'm saying. And I'm grateful because is a lot of A-list celebrities that are starting to speak up now saying, we step back because we watch what they're doing. And then I do share that they're just the puppets anyway. It's puppet masters of the puppet masters of the like it's a
Right.
very
Yeah.
tiny world that's running things.
Right.
And so the more that can speak up and we're our own direct energy weapon. So wherever we're going to put our energy, that's
Exactly.
going to be, I'm putting it in kids because I'm watching it work. So if we all
Yeah.
picked where we can direct this positive energy and work on that, especially ourselves, we're
Mhm.
golden. We have our own. We are the ones we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Beautifully
This
said.
has been great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I
I'm
know
so
you have.
thankful to see you.
Yes, absolutely. And we have
Same.
your links. Your link tree is in the description, but for those who don't follow you, can you maybe just name a few places that they can
Yes.
find you and what you're doing?
Absolutely. Well, I just joined TikTok finally with a new email. I was banned for a couple years for medical posts, but
I just
I'm
got
on there.
banned too. So yeah,
Oh, did you?
Me
yeah,
too.
I tried.
We've
Well,
all
I was
been
at
banned
VidCon.
on
My
right.
TikTok.
kids took me, we went to VidCon. So I learned some new tricks. And I also talked to YouTube because, when they took one of my videos down about a memorial for my friend, I went right to them and I'm like, I go, they made me take a test about QAnon. Have you heard of QAnon? And they're like, why'd they do that? I go, exactly. I go, that was
Exactly.
to get the strike off. I go, don't you find that odd? And so I'm talking to these people. I'm like, they don't even know what I'm talking about. But basically, why did I even bring that up? Oh, because of YouTube, I'm really growing my YouTube channel. It's Heidi Popp LA is my handle, and Heidi Popp Rebooted. I have a very old Facebook page I barely touch, but Rebooted is and Heidi Popp LA. You can find me. But my YouTube page, when I do go do my shows, they're usually live or I do vlog, and I really connect with community. It's a really really special kind community. We talk all the things, and so yeah, you could find me on there or Heidi Popp Rebooted on Instagram, Facebook. That's the nicer
Yeah,
page.
yeah, beautiful. So I have to ask you. So you said YouTube made you take a QAnon test,
Yes.
or
So when
so?
I had to get my strike off, they're like, take this
I
class to show that you learned the rules.
yes,
And the
I
first
did
one
that.
is, yeah,
I
isn't
did
it?
it
I
too,
was
just to see what it
screenshotting
was,
it.
and it's exactly what you said. I was laughing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my
I
God.
was like, oh my God.
So
Hilarious.
So,
wait, so
and
what was it for?
this was,
I don't. Yeah, explain
yeah.
it for those who don't know, because
Well,
yeah.
the thing they took down is my friend. We called her Jazz Julie. She died like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I was just doing this memorial talk. I used to host gatherings out here, and she was, one of our main players, and it was really sad. And why they took it is I talked about how she did all the things, every health thing you could think of. The SCOBY, the frequency, the Rife machine. I said, but she had a dark heart. She looked on the world with mad at people for past. And I was saying perhaps that because her heart gave out. She could do all
Mm,
the healing and health eating in the world, but if you have a dark heart and you are bitter, look what happens.
that's
And
when,
that's why they
yeah.
took it down. Isn't that crazy? So I sat on it, but I'm like, no, I just started growing this channel. So I'm like, I'm going to take the test. And it was like out of the 10 questions, I think 8 of them were like Q. It was like, if Sally posts a video about QAnon and a Pizzagate theory story, do you report it or not? Things like that. And
Because
I'd
it's
be
harmful
like,
information. Yeah. And there was a
yeah,
bunch about like vaccines. It was like,
uh-huh.
is this okay? And it said something about vaccine, and it would be like, correct, it's not okay because it goes against the CDC and the WHO's official, the authorities' official
So you have
narrative.
to basically play their game and answer all the questions wrong just to get your
Yeah,
Yep.
channel.
You
yeah.
had to
I had
back
to
Yeah,
it over.
intentionally and what
Yeah.
I knew they wanted me to answer, so
right.
that
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll
it was
screenshot
hilarious.
that though, and I was sharing it. I try not to do my reboot. I'm keeping it a little clean, but I shared it, and I'm like, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" Yeah, bend over. Here you go. And then there's the old activist in me that wants to be like, "Well, fuck it. I'm done. I'm checking out of YouTube." But then I'm like, "No, I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play their game, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
just infect it with so much light." So
right,
I
right.
went to this VidCon thing, surrounded by content creators, surrounded by TikTok Hub and YouTube people and all that. And I'm just going up doing my little thing like, guys, don't you think it's weird that, you know, and these
Right.
people who just work for them, but
Plant
taking
those seeds.
notes,
Plant those
yeah,
seeds.
planting
Get
seeds.
people's minds.
Yes.
Seriously, I do that all the time because it's so a lot of the times that's huge because it gets people for the first time thinking about, wait a second, yeah, that is weird. Why
Even if
is
they
they
think
were.
it's
And they're
They were
nonsense.
like,
right.
yeah, they were like
It's like that.
QAnon.
It's
And
like
I'm
that
no,
pinhole of
right?
light through the darkness that gets them, it might take years for them to start breaking out, but it like starts that process a lot of times
Right.
when you get the
Right.
wheel spinning.
Yep.
Right.
So for those who don't know, Aaron did decide to create our 5th YouTube channel, and
Yeah.
and he's been uploading. So he's playing the same game Heidi's
Fifth
playing. He's
one.
not
Playing
giving
the
up.
same. Yes.
If it was just me running the show, I would not do it, but he's adamant about
Remember,
it,
you
and
were,
it's
you were upset that I
it's
did it the
working.
first time. You're like, I just want to boycott
Right.
YouTube. I was like, I do too, but I feel like I was on your page, right? I was like, I feel like
I just want to
I
get in
would
there and
we still need
show
to be
it.
on
Yeah.
there to from within, like affect change from
But
within.
I mean,
Yeah.
I gotta give it to you because you literally like they took down 4 channels, and you're like, I'm starting the 5th one.
Yeah, that's that.
Like,
The patience
eh,
you have, Aaron, because that's not
yeah,
easy to get all
I
that
couldn't do
stuff up.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a big
Wow.
gap between the 4th and the 5th one that I was like, you know what? Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost didn't, and I was like, one more time. I'll try one more time.
But
We'll see
so
how
how
long.
can people find that one, Aaron, if they want to look it up?
It's just Journey to Truth podcast it's just search Journey to Truth or Journey to Truth podcast on
Okay, so it's the
YouTube, and
same
it
as what it
should come
was.
up at the very top. Same exact.
Right.
Yeah, you should find it searching us on YouTube really easily. So it's
All
also,
right.
I think our website has a link to the correct new channel. I think I updated that.
Okay.
Some
Also, so
Okay,
some
cool.
super big. I know you're wrapping up, but some of the super big head honchos that are content creators, even they've gone to those crazy Hollywood parties. Now, I don't want to spin off too far here, but so those people are even getting slowly exposed, if you notice lately. So
Nice.
I'm telling you, the truth will win. Honesty, kindness, love wins. Congratulations, Aaron. And I think if we just have patience, this will all calibrate.
So
But
Oh,
you're saying
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
some of the big like YouTubers have been spotted at the Hollywood parties?
compromised. Yes.
I believe
And
it.
there's some,
Man,
yeah,
I would
there's some
love to know
Well,
too.
Mr.
I know. I found one. I'll text you something that because I was doing a little, I'm like, they gave the initials, they gave the time frame, they gave nobody I watched, like a creator, but
So
you can
Mr.
tell who
B,
gets bought up. I
Mr.
know.
B,
I saw you say that. My son loves Mr. Beast.
who I know,
Go
which
ahead.
is like, I think he's currently the biggest YouTuber, if I'm not mistaken. And there was a whole bunch of stuff coming out recently about him being a pedophile. So
Oh man.
there you go.
Actual or the guy who
Where-
works for him.
Or the guy,
Well,
well,
who
then no,
knows,
the
but-
guy works for him, but then now also him, because there's all this.
Okay.
There was like screenshots of text or something that he said all this stuff.
So who is this? Mr. Who?
Mr. Beast is
Mr.
what he goes
Beast.
by on YouTube. I don't
Oh,
know his
Mr.
actual
Beast.
name.
Oh, I did read about that. Okay.
Yeah.
My
Yeah, I
son's
was-
obsessed. But
he's a pedophile.
I met at VidCon the Mexican Mr. Beast. His name's Jesus. It's Juixxe. Got to interact with his light. I had a one-on-one mentorship meeting with him. He is an authentic soul, and he even made a joke, and his manager was with him saying that they're not gonna. They turned down Starbucks as a product, and I go, you're fine. You are set. If they put their
Right.
boundaries like that, there are
Awesome.
some real good. And he's starting to go boom. So I'm putting all my energy into the Mexican Mr. Beast.
Nice.
Because so again, how we're gonna make ourselves sick talking about all the crazy stuff. So
It would be.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Is it
My son
Senior
made his
Beast?
own birthday cake. Pardon?
Is it Senior Beast?
Is it
Senior Beast?
It should be.
Senior Beast.
Mexican
I know.
Mr. It should be Senior
We
Beast.
call him that because he's a humanitarian and he started earning money. He puts it right back. He goes on the street and like buys out taco carts and then gives them out. And
That's
you know,
amazing.
really,
That's amazing.
really sweet down here in LA. But yeah, the Mr.
Wow.
Beast thing. My son just turned 11 and he made a Mr. Beast cake. I'm like, I'm not going to tell him this one.
Oh yeah. Right. Well, I mean, that's it's unfortunate but we're going to be seeing more of that, and we're just going to have to
Right.
prepare that, even
Right.
the
Right.
people
We're going to
we've
eat our
grown to love.
popcorn.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
We've been doing that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm full.
Everything's coming to light. That's part of this awakening and ascension. It's like everything is coming to light and to the surface to be seen and to be exposed. And it's like all the shadows built that's been buried for so long, right? All the deep dark stuff it's like things aren't getting worse, they're just getting uncovered for the first time ever, kind of
Exactly.
Right.
thing. And now we're having to actually all deal with it and process it and decide what do we want, now. as
Yeah.
a human race. So
Yep.
that's the chaos. That it's a good thing. You know, it's chaotic, but that's a good thing because that means change is happening and we're growing through that, and we can, you know, that's like, you know, that's like the catalyst for a lot of change, right? Chaos. So like if things just stayed the same, that's actually a bad thing because that means the evil is just smooth sailing, just not having any resistance, and things aren't, we're
Well,
not
yeah, and
growing
nobody
also.
grows. No
Right.
one
Nobody's
grows inside their comfort zone. You
right.
know.
Nobody grows inside their comfort. Like things have to get shaken up for you to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening on the planet right now.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Heidi. This has been a
Thank you
blast.
so much.
Everyone go
Thank you.
follow her and subscribe to her on YouTube, and make sure
Yes.
you check out her link tree and everything she does. We can't thank you enough, Heidi. This was a blast. And
Thank you.
guys,
I
just
love you guys. I've always have. I can't wait. I'm going to try to see you again this year, but thank you for all that you've been doing. Like seriously, talk about spearheading and just being out there. You are at the forefront of disclosure communities, in my opinion. You're the
well,
you're the
thank
good
you.
ones, the good guys.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank
it's
you.
yeah, it takes a lot to, be consistent with this stuff 5 years into it, but
It-
something is just working in our favor. That's all I can say. And
Because you're
I don't
good
know.
people.
Yeah, I can't explain it,
Thank
but
you.
I'm so grateful.
We're blessed, and we have no plans of stopping, right? We're
Right.
we're blessed to be
No.
part of this movement and to do what we can to help with this awakening, right? So we're
Yep.
not going to stop. Yeah.
And just for those who don't know, or just a reminder to check out our new website, journeytotruth.online, where you can find everything we do there, including our new monthly newsletter. And also, don't forget, we have a Patreon. It's only $5 a month. And we just did our most recent webinar, The Secret Journey to Planet Serpo, a true story of interplanetary travel, where 10, 12, 13 astronauts, 12 astronauts were sent
Whatever
to another
number.
planet,
Yeah.
13 years. Yeah. Anyway, it's a really incredible story, and we did a deep dive on it. So if you want to learn more about that, you can check that out on our Patreon. And if you want to see the trailer for it, you can just scroll back through the feed on Rumble, and you can watch the trailer. But go sign up over there if you haven't. It's only $5. That link is below in the description. And we hope to see you at the conference coming up in Tucson, Arizona, September 27th through the 29th. I believe that's the day, 26th or 27th through the 29th.
Mhm.
And or Aaron and I will both be speaking, and we hope to see you there. That link is below as well. There's a million things I could keep talking about and promoting, but we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. So good night, everybody. We love you. We can't do this without you. And until next time, have a great evening. Good night. Recording stop.